Welcome to the In Memory of Man podcast, a show dedicated to the brave new world of crime, artificial intelligence, and you. The future is now. Here's your host, criminal trial lawyer, researcher, and author, Robert Kiesling.
Hello, welcome to the Robot Crime Podcast. I'm your host, Robert Kiesling, criminal trial lawyer out of Austin, Texas. The purpose of this podcast is to give you, the listener, the 411 on artificial intelligence and how it applies to the criminal justice system, both now and in the future. How did I come up with this crazy idea? Well, I had just finished my novel, Discredited Citizen, which deals with the future crime and how artificial intelligence will be involved in both. There were some disturbing trends that I saw both here and now and in the future that I felt needed to be addressed with the public and needs to be debated, which hopefully we'll have some questions and answers in the upcoming episodes that I will be able to extend upon further, and we can continue debates. So let's talk about some of these articles that our future episodes will be discussing. The EU might ban facial recognition tech for 5 years. The nations dawdle on agreeing to rules to control killer robots in future wars. Warner Brothers signs deal for AI-driven film management system. I read that article. They are going to try to use AI to accurately predict the success of a film based on its reading of screenplays. China facial recognition case puts Big Brother on trial. Samsung just launched an artificial human called Neon, and wait, what? How we survive the surveillance apocalypse. Yeah, none of them are really uplifting articles, but again, you can find the full article on robotcrimeblog.com. Let me, at this point, thank my sponsors, the law offices of RRK for your family and criminal trial needs in Texas. Big Smoke, that's with a QUE.com for all your catering needs. And of course, Discredited Citizen, a near future crime thriller about a man accused of capital murder set in the year 2030 who must make an impossible decision. Let's jump right into the subject of this podcast, which is going to be the state versus Loomis. Headline: Artificial intelligence sentences man to 6 years. Future, now, or the past? I bet you're saying, well, it's got to be the now, right? No, it's the past. Yeah. He was sentenced to 6 years in the state of Wisconsin versus Loomis. What did Mr. Loomis do? Well, Mr. Loomis used a car he shouldn't have used that was not his and used it in a drive-by shooting, and he also evaded police officers. Well, he was sentenced by the judge after the judge looked at the artificial intelligence by the company called Compass for sentencing guidelines, and Compass used an AI algorithm which in a black box. Let me tell you what a black box is real quick. Black box is, let's say, it's kind of like your phone, right? You can turn it on, you can turn it off, right? But turning it on and turning it off isn't going to tell you how your phone works. Well, same thing with the black box, right? Judge gets the data that has been compiled through all these circuits and codes that are created by a programmer, and based on this information that the judge gets, which is going to be basically a synopsis of what that code is, the judge looks at it and says, hey, I'm going to consider this and sentencing someone to 6 years. Now think about that. 6 years, that's substantial, right? But wrap your head around life. It's going to happen. I guarantee AI, at some point, a judge is going to use it and sentence a man to life. You heard it here first, folks, most likely. So Mr. Loomis, let me back up. I'm sure that his lawyer probably in this scenario says, hey, we're going to be fine, and I think they're going to go ahead and strike the other multiple charges against you if you plead to these two, and I'm sure I can probably get your probation. And I've talked to the prosecutor. They think so as well. Mr. Loomis says, okay, well, counsel, I'm going to go ahead and take your advice. I'm going to go in and we'll do it. Let's see what the judge says, and probably maybe even an open sentencing, which means the judge can sentence him to whatever the judge sentences him to. I don't know Wisconsin law. That's something maybe someone can tell me on the question and answers. Well, so prosecutor talks to the defense counsel and says, hey, look, we have this new thing it's been mandated by or being pushed upon us by the National Lawyers Association. And it says that Mr. Loomis cannot or is not eligible for probation. And counsel's like, wait, what are you talking about? And he's, what is this? Well, it's an artificial intelligence. And counsel's like, okay, well, defense counsel says, okay, well, can I take a look at that at least? And let me see what's in it? I'm sorry, you can't. What do you mean I can't? Yeah, I can. It's a violation of the due process if I can't look at this stuff. And the prosecutor says, you can't. It's forbidden, and the company is a private company. So defense counsel is saying, well, wait a minute. So you're telling me that my guy is going to be sentenced by this artificial intelligence information, and it's private. We don't know how they've calculated it. We don't know who calculated it, and we don't know what population it's based on. But you're saying to tell me it's okay and let my guy plea. Well, I'm no, he's going to withdraw his plea. Well, counsel, that's I don't think that's an option, but we can approach the judge. Judge says, okay, well, I'm really not understanding what this artificial intelligence business is, and prosecutors probably like, well, judge, it's just fuzzy math. It's good for us, Mr. Loomis. He's just not eligible for probation, and it recommends that he be sentenced heavily. Well, I still don't understand, counsel. The judge says, she's like, well, prosecutor probably breaks down and says, there's 3 types of people that it's assessed. Bad, and really, really bad. And there's a chart, judge, and you can see it. And Mr. Loomis is really, really bad. Then judge looks at it and, pressured for time in a docket, says, all right, Mr. Loomis, it says that you're really, really bad. You're not eligible for probation, so I'm going to go ahead and sentence you to 6 years in prison for these 2 crimes. Next, gavel slams. Mr. Loomis probably has a shocked look on his face. Defense counsel's like, I'm appealing. Judge says probably, hey, that's your right, counsel. End of story. Well, so Mr. Loomis goes ahead and he appeals on the basis of, again, the violation of his due process. All right, so what is due process? Due process is, in the United States, we're guaranteed certain rights under the Constitution. If you're accused of a crime, cop can't just come in, or an officer can't just come in, kick your door down, drag you out, throw you in a cell, leave you there indefinitely without telling you why you're there. Also, there's obviously more rights than that, but in a nutshell, without a process, that process is going to be, they're going to get an arrest warrant, right? It's going to be based on an affidavit, and that affidavit is an officer affidavit. Then if a judge is going to have to sign off with the warrant, then they're going to go and pick you up. Then you have certain rights when they pick you up. They can't throw you around, abuse you, do all kinds of crazy stuff, right? It would be a violation of your civil rights. And then you would go, and then there would be a bond, most likely you'd be bonded out. Then you'll have pretrial. Then you'll have a trial, or by a jury or by a judge. Then you're either going to be sentenced or you're going to be set free. Then you're going to have an appellate process. That, in a nutshell, is going to be your due process rights, right? Okay, so they're saying that because Mr. Loomis was not able to look into this black box by this private corporation, which I completely agree with, that it's a violation of his due process rights. And so the Court of Appeals went ahead and sent it up to the Supreme Court, asking it for its guidance on, and let me clarify, the Supreme Court of Wisconsin, its guidance on how to address this issue of due process. And we're going to go ahead and get into that, but I'm short on time. We're almost done with this episode. I have a few things that I also want to throw into this episode. And it's going to lead to bias, and we're not talking about regular bias. We're talking about computer bias, which, if you don't know, that's a very interesting subject. I'd like to end with a quote. I have a daily quote as well that I try to use every day, and today's quote is, It's okay to get knocked out, but never throw in the towel. That said, if you would be kind enough to go to iTunes and leave a review or leave a comment. Also, you can go to Facebook. You have friends over there that may be interested in this podcast. Just please spread the word, and it will help us to continue doing what we do. If Skynet does not take over by the next time I air my next podcast, I will see you then. Thanks. Take care. Bye.